Hello everybody, I'm William of LOTW Studios, and today I've got a really special video for you all. So Wednesday the 21st of September is the premiere of LEGO Masters USA, and to mark this, a few people from the online LEGO community were tasked with interviewing some of the contestants of this coming season, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the people selected on behalf of Bricks in Motion. This video is a compilation of interviews that we did with 5 of the contestants. It was a really great opportunity to be able to do this, and I hope you enjoy it. Without further ado, here are the interviews. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, William.
Hi. So I got a couple of questions. So first off, I wanted to actually ask, because this is something that always kind of comes to mind when I sort of think about is how often do you kind of like look at like just pretty much anything like buildings or something, just something you'll sort of pass and just sort of think, how would I build that in Lego? Is that something that you think about a lot?
It depends. If I'm like really in the middle of a build, I feel like I notice that type of thing a lot more. Like when my mind is kind of on the back burner working through problems and I'm just walking around and I'll like feel like, oh, that looks so much like this piece, or I could totally see this construction for building that railing or whatever. And sometimes it's like that part of my brain turns off a bit, and I'm just enjoying a place or whatever. But definitely, a lot of the time when I see like a really cool building or landscape, it does go through my mind.
I definitely feel like there are builders who probably think more like that, like, ooh, I love that painting. How could I make a mosaic that looks just like that? Or, a railing or whatever. And not that you asked me to comment on Liam, but I'm going to as his mother. I feel like he's always been an incredible storyteller. He's always envisioned amazing worlds and then wanted to bring that to life with the bricks. So rather than drawing as much inspiration from the material world around us, I feel like a lot of his ideas come from his imagination. I have, for the first time in my life this last year, really started looking at things and wondering, oh, how could I do that with Lego bricks? So yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like a bit of a balance, isn't it, between sort of like looking at things in the real world, but also just trying to make something completely sort of like in your head, isn't it? Like and bring that to life. So I guess there's a kind of, I guess there is some sort of like in between, isn't there, with that? Yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, with the spirit lion that Liam built, that he won the best sculpture award for at Brick Fair, Virginia in 2019, he kind of did both of those, just what you described, because he had this fantastical idea of a mythical lion that was large enough that a whole village, an African village, could be on top of it. But he went ahead and studied lion anatomy very carefully to try to make the lion as realistic as possible, because part of what draws you into these mythical worlds is when it looks believable, right? And so the mind isn't bothered by, wait, that doesn't look quite right, the proportions are off or something like that, right?
Yeah, and I guess there's just like so much, I guess, like storytelling is there with everything that you do, isn't it? Because it's like, yeah, you're thinking of like, I guess to some degree as well as being like the kind of realism side of things, of like how you blend things in the real world with like things that are in your imagination. It's also like, how do these things kind of, I guess, relate to people, how it can, how you can make something that people connect with, I guess, as well.
Absolutely. And remind us, William, do I understand your website focuses on brick film?
Yes, yeah. Actually, do you know, if you have you come across the term brick film?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 We were really lucky that year at Brick Fair, Virginia. A whole bunch of brick film guys were at the table next to us. So we became friends with them. And Liam has taught stop motion Lego film classes in the community to children and that kind of thing. So, yeah. And of course, played around it with it yourself. You know it. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's amazing. Yeah. So so I basically the Bricks in Motion is a community that is sort of focused on brick films, and so I'm one of the sort of mod team of that, and basically I've been making brick films for about 7 years now, and I think there's a lot of stuff which I think, obviously I'm sort of thinking, I guess, similar to the way that you would kind of build things. not always quite to the scale of like, you know, a big mock or anything, but more sense of like what's kind of realistic within something that you can build, and also like just seeing what the camera sees, that kind of stuff, which is
Mhm.
quite a different thing. But it's I think over the years I've grown a lot in the appreciation of like how to make things that are, you know, visually interesting. And obviously there is a lot of that involved. Also I've seen my kind of Lego kind of collection kind of you know, grow as well as I keep making films. And yeah, it's kind of like, you know, you continue, I think, as you kind of, as you keep doing stuff, your curiosity and just like, you know, your passion for like making things look really interesting and doing things that are unique, you know, it kind of, it grows, isn't it? And it's like, I guess in a way it's almost like, yeah, just like you can't stop, can you? You know, it keeps going. And I guess another thing I would ask is like, what are like the sort of like the biggest inspirations that you've seen of like other like creations that people have made? Like, you know, what kind of comes to mind, you know, with that?
Oh my gosh, that's a huge question. Honestly, there are so many builders that I take inspiration from every day that I don't think that I could name a single one. One of the coolest like conversations I've had with a builder was actually back in 2019. Sean Kenny was at Brick Fair, Virginia. He was exhibiting as like a special guest there, and he actually gave me feedback on this large, you know, creature build that I had done. And he gave me feedback on how to make it stronger for travel and just on his process. And that was really amazing to hear firsthand. And I feel like that was feedback that we kept in mind on the show as well.
And for me, in my feed, I always am delighted when I see a new post from Echo Nimako. Like, I'm blown away by everything I see that he creates, and just sometimes cannot believe that he is using Lego pieces to create such incredible art.
That's actually really good answer. Actually, there is I actually forgot what they're called, but there is someone that I really love who does like these really intricate like builds that are actually, you know, they move in different ways, like a bit like, what's a
Kinetic
music
sculpture,
box.
like a
Yeah.
sculpture. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
No,
we're huge Calder fans. So anything that's like a kinetic sculpture made out of Lego, we definitely would love.
definitely, that's I've, yeah, the stuff that I've seen is just like incredible. Like, yeah, I guess you get to do a lot of that as well with obviously like in Lego Masters, like building things that are kind of actually like moving and stuff like that.
Yeah, with motors, yeah. We'll see. I know in past seasons they've had motorized challenges, and we'll have to wait and see what's coming.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. Hi there. So yeah, I just like start off by asking because something that I'm sort of like curious about, like with when it comes to like having like, you know, you know, buy so many like different like Lego sets over the years and stuff. Do you find that you often have to kind of like reorganize like which ones you display, which ones you have to put away, and that kind of stuff? I get like, I imagine that like a lot of the time you're having to battle with like space and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. We, in my family, we actually decided to renovate our Lego room about a year ago. Still not done. We're getting there, but we knew that that involved having to put away a lot of sets and really figuring out which ones were most important to us to display. So what we did is we took them, put them in Ziploc bags when they would fit, broke them down as little as possible, and I have them in big red bins labeled, whether it's Ninjago or it's City or it's Star Wars, although a lot of our Star Wars is out. But yeah, and then I rotate. Right now I'm working on a Halloween display, and then after that I'll rotate it with a Christmas display. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, yeah, that's interesting actually. Yeah, I thought about like the way you could sort of decorate it, yeah, depending on season and stuff as well. Yeah.
Same, except we haven't got to the putting away part yet. We we just we remodeled our basement like 2 years ago because every room in the house has Lego. It still does, but we were like, we needed a central location because we had so much. Because I have a Facebook Marketplace problem, and then it became, I made lands, like, so we modeled our 800 square foot basement, and I made little zones for all of the different themes. We have like Friends, we have our Star Wars, we have Ninjago, we have Nexo, we have like all the winter stuff, all the airport stuff, the city stuff. So everything has its own display spot in theory, but in reality, we have way more than will ever actually go on those shelves. So within each zone, I have a bucket of mystery theme. So like in the Nexo zone over there, I have 2 buckets on the floor that are all Nexo stuff that can be displayed. So what stays displayed is what is still together and built. And my kids play with it constantly. So ours is always breaking. So I literally have like 4 buckets of Ninjago to be fixed. And then I have like Friends to be fixed, City to be fixed, but everything that's together is displayed. And as far as my display stuff behind me, it's whatever mock that hasn't fallen apart on the way home from a convention.
Yeah, so actually another question I kind of asked, I asked the previous guest as well, just I find it really like an interesting kind of thing. When you're kind of approaching like the builds you make, do you often find yourself like looking at like real life examples, or do you feel like you're like when you're like out somewhere, you're looking at buildings and stuff, you're constantly, are you sort of always thinking like how you would build it in Lego? Is that something that you kind of relate to?
That's absolutely, and especially lately, and since being on the show, it's like you kind of train your brain to just break everything down. Like, how would I make that? How would I make that? There's some great architecture in my town alone, and I keep going around. There's like a round stone barn. I keep going, I'm gonna make that round stone barn. And I keep thinking how I'm gonna work the roof, how I'm gonna do the stone work, and it's you just kind of see Lego everywhere.
Yeah, same thing. The show has trained me to look at everything in Lego, and I have to get out of it. So for my mock building, I like to take inspiration from reality, or from movies, or from like that kind of stuff. I'm not a very like make a monster kind of builder. Like I'm not like Erin's way better at that than I am. I'm like, I need to have a model or something I can imitate for ratios and for curvatures and stuff like that. So just free building for me is like, okay, if I free build, I'm going to have something in mind of what I'm actually free building on.
That was interesting, yeah, because I guess we also just sort of like talked about this the previous contestants as well, is the kind of the balancing between something that is purely like in your like imagination with the practicalities, and also like making something that is that kind of does exist within reality, like it's this sort of thing of like it has like walls, or like it kind of like it has some sort of relation to something that's real, something like that, which and I guess like if you both have a different kind of like I guess like mindsets when it comes to like what inspires you and what kind of like your kind of, I guess, your strengths are, in a sense, it kind of like helps you kind of like work together as a team, because you've got that kind of balancing, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I guess another question I wanted to ask is, have you got like a favorite sort of like classic Lego theme, like sort of like, I guess like like one of the older ones or something like that?
Yeah, for me, my favorite older theme is Futuron. I love like the monorail in the space. Like when we pulled that out, that was my husband's when he was a kid, and I made my in-laws give it to us. I was like, no, we need that now. We need that. Like that's my favorite, because my brother had it and it was so cool, and I never touched it. I never touched his monorail. I was so good. And it didn't work. And then the day that I like got acetone and I cleaned it out and put the battery in, it worked. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. So yeah, monorail, Futuron.
And for me, I didn't grow up with Lego. So for me, like, as far as classic stuff from my childhood, I wasn't really into it. I didn't really start getting totally into sets a while ago, until like the Lord of the Rings stuff started coming out. And yeah, I absolutely love those, and in Star Wars, but anything really like before 2000, it wasn't even on my radar. I know, yeah. I'm sorry. It probably crushes people's souls, but it wasn't for girls at the time.
Well, that makes a lot of sense though. Like the idea that like, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is like stuff you may have heard of, but not necessarily of like have, actually, you kind of, I guess, also missed out on, having a chance to actually.
Well, and we're too old for like Belleville and Scala. Like we were already like teenagers by the time that stuff came out. So
a lot of people's nostalgia is based on what they played with as a kid. Like for my husband, it's space, but for me, I'm like, yeah, I liked it starting around Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
I feel like for me, it was kind of like what really was it hit like exactly the right time for me was the Lego Indiana Jones like theme.
Yes.
And I only had one. As a kid, I only had one set, and it was the small like motorbike and sidecar chase.
Yes, yeah.
And like that was like I was absolutely obsessed with the idea of having. I saw I had a catalog. I was like, I really need this set. And then yeah, like one day I visited my granddad, like, and it was there waiting for me. I was like, I was just over the moon. It was like it's like when you're that age, it's like having a motorbike, like.
That was a cool piece too. That's so cool.
Hello.
Well, hello.
Hey, William.
Hi.
Hi.
So yeah, it's well, a huge honor to be speaking with you. So many questions I'd love to ask. Also, so little time, but I guess one of the things I wanted to ask was because it's something that I find kind of intriguing with, I guess, like the whole like Lego mock kind of like community is like, do you find that there's a nice kind of like balance between kind of the online side of things, but also like an actual real, like, in person kind of community, like, in real life kind of thing?
It's kind of tricky. So I'll be honest, I haven't been as active in like conventions and things like that. Part of it, I'll be honest, is because, John and I live in New York. So it's like, we don't have cars. How can we get to places and bring the creations that we have for these type of things? So that coordination logistics is part of it. But I personally haven't had really a chance to like showcase the work that I've done outside of an online forum, out of such as Flickr or Instagram. But it's definitely something that I want to see if I can get involved in, if I have the means to do so.
Yeah, I need to get my driver's license. So.
But I will say, in the conventions that I have gone, I've always been, excited to see what people have created and what they've built, and it's just like there's just a lot of great ideas. Some of them is like, cool, I want to see if I can create something similar, take those ideas and make it my own, or it's just very inspiring to see everything that people have made. Like it's just so much to process. Like Bionicle, I still don't understand how people make all these amazing stuff with Bionicle parts. But I don't know, there's a lot to see. So definitely want to see if we can explore more in person these creations than just seeing them online.
And it hasn't helped that the pandemic just really makes things harder to connect the past 2 years too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just I was wondering about it because like a lot of what I do is very much like online sort of focused. I also do like Lego stop motion videos, and I had the opportunity recently to have like an in-person event where we had like a film screening, and it was just like a completely different experience I'd never like had before, where I was like, there is something really magical about like bringing something that was just online to being like something that like people are together, and it's like it feels like I think it almost feels like at that point it's like you start to realize actually, yeah, this is all actually real. Like there are actually a lot of people that are like that really care about it, so is me, and all kind of stuff. And yeah, I think it's like an extra step, isn't it? That's like pretty
special. It's almost like the difference between watching a play performed by really great actors versus watching a movie, right? It feels more real because it's happening right in front of you.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way of describing it. Yeah. So something else I wanted to ask, something that I've been asking each contestant is, when you're kind of just out and about and you're just like you're like going around town or anything, do you find it really hard not to constantly be thinking about like how you build something that you see? Like, is that always on your mind?
Yeah, that does happen a lot. Out and about, like when I have a chance, because there's a lot of things I look at. Sometimes there are like buildings that remind me of like, oh yeah, that looks like Lego. It's like, oh yeah, that looks like that piece that from this set. I could probably make something like that. For me personally, I like building like figures and like human shapes and things like that. So seeing like sculptures, like whether it's human or not, or like any type of artwork, it's just like I want to see if I can create that type of organic shape through Lego. This is a cool level of dimension looking at those type of things. So that's what I often think about when I see something very interesting piece that kind of like draws my attention. It's like, cool, can I invoke that same type of feeling or sensation if I create something through Lego?
It's more of because I watch a lot of anime and enjoy a lot of that that content. I play a lot of video games. It's can I make that what I'm thinking in my head and that like dynamic scene through Lego with the pieces I have? And do I need to go online and buy the extra pieces to make that come true? That's kind of how I think of it when I'm out and about. So it's almost like thinking of an anime scene that's not real, making it alive through Lego.
Yeah, I guess it's that's yeah, it's interesting. I guess it's like pretty much any kind of like form of like arts or like media or anything like that, where it's just like you're kind of almost like drawing something, or you're like painting something, but it's this like physical thing made out of bricks, isn't it? That you're kind of, which has just come from your like your head, your mind, like you just like, and you're kind of portraying it into brick form.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's lots of times where it's like I want to draw something because it's like cool, it's a cool idea, but it's like I bet I can make that in Lego instead. Let me see if I can make it in Lego. So it's just like just choosing like whether I choose it in Lego or something else. Is just trying to see if I can use that Lego as a medium for what I want to create. It's always a fun challenge to do.
Yes, I guess it's right. It's something that's like actually real then as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
There's a physical thing.
Yeah, it's really cool just seeing something you can see in the physical form. The dimension of it is just, I don't know, it's very appealing. There's a lot more complexity than you would think.
Hi there. Yes, we're honored to speak both to you guys. So yeah, I guess sort of the first question would be, when you're kind of like out and about and you're kind of like maybe just in town or whatever, like are you always sort of have it in your mind thinking of like how you would build something like out of Lego, like you're looking at like buildings and things like that and constantly thinking, is that always like in your mind, I guess?
Yeah, it's something that comes up when I, like for instance, whenever I visit a new city, I'll look for buildings and kind of say like, oh man, that would be really, really cool in Lego. The other thing too is, I think it's one of my favorite things to do is to build something and have people not be able to tell that it's made out of Lego. So I'll constantly see like, oh, I bet a part could look exactly like that kind of thing. So yes, I'm constantly looking.
I'll second that. Whenever I go, I don't know, it's certain pieces or certain things will grab my eye and be like, ooh, I bet I could sculpt that or make that. I don't know if it's particularly buildings or even like fruit or I don't know, random objects around life, but it's occasionally something like, oh, dude, I could totally build this out of Lego. Let's try it. I forget what my son was saying the other day. He wanted to build like a frog. And we're like, all right, let's try if we can do it. And ideas out of the kids' minds, and then kind of whatever random things occurs where I try to go with my inspiration.
That's really great answers. And yeah, I think it's like this sort of sense of like, you're kind of balancing, I guess, like sort of things that are in the real world with also with like just your imagination in general, and like seeing how those two things can combine into something, isn't it?
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
So something else I wanted to ask is something that I always have in mind with like stuff that I do. So I do like Lego stop motion. It's like it's very much focused on online, like that's the sort of center of it all. Whereas what I find really interesting about like mocks is obviously because you go to like lots of kind of conventions and all that kind of stuff, and I guess Lego Masters itself, like it's all kind of like meeting real people and just like a in real life experience. Does that kind of feel kind of like real, really sort of like, I guess, special? It makes it kind of feel more like having it something just that transcends beyond just like the online stuff. I guess that must feel like a really nice sort of experience.
I think I get what you're getting at. For me, I'm very new to the Lego world in general. Justin kind of introduced me to this whole nother experience. So I'm fairly newbie and going to my first convention actually next week in Seattle. So I don't know if I could answer that other than the fact that people I've met along the way, specifically in Lego Masters, are some of the most amazing people I've ever met. And race, age, abilities, none of that really mattered because it was all the same passion for the same art medium and I don't know, just ability to work with it. So I thought it was really cool in the fact that, you know, you could be from a different country, you can be a different race, you can be age, none of that mattered because we all just sit around, have a good time and enjoying Lego.
From my perspective also, you know, I have primarily built over the, you know, I started building again in residency as far as mocks go and that kind of thing. And it's really become almost like a form of therapy or relaxation, you know, to kind of get the steam off of work and not think about some of that kind of stuff. And so that was where I primarily started with it. And getting to be a part of Lego Masters really has sort of opened my eyes to how large the community actually is. I mean, I am part of a local it's the New Mexico Lego users group, or a Lug at Home. And, you know, we have a fair amount of members, you know, 15, 20 members, but I had no idea how absolutely large the community is. I'm really looking forward to going to that convention in Seattle as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I guess as well, like you were saying about like how, like, you know, like it's about like what age you are, like, or like any of those sort of things. And I think it's a shared thing because it's like, you know, like there's like you're all embracing your kind of like the part of you that's like a, you know, that's still like a child, you know. Like I do strongly believe like that all the stuff that I do is just like it's a little bit of childhood that's sort of like that's staying there, and it's sort of like, and yeah, I think that's something that really can bring people together and, you know, have some really good like sort of like friendships, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's still magic there, absolutely, and there's just something that is magical about it.
Yeah, when you're too old to still, you know, be playing with Lego, you can still find an excuse to be around Lego, you know.
I'm not 99 yet, man. 0 to 99, man.
Hey, William, how are you?
Hi there. Hi, we all wanted to speak with you, and also looking forward to season 3. So yeah, I guess a question I've been asking all the contestants is like when you're kind of, I guess, out and about, and you kind of like you look at like buildings or whatever, are you always like in your mind thinking about how you'd build it in Lego?
It's my entire universe these days, William. I've got countless reference photos on my cell phone. Sorry, it blurred out there with the background, but I am constantly looking at buildings and the architecture in particular. I've had this conversation with Tom before, but I get so much inspiration from architecture, and then I start looking at real world applications about, oh, you know, there's this unique element that would be perfect in that situation. So I've got this long list of buildings and things that I want to create based off what I see in my everyday life, and I take a great deal of inspiration from architecture in particular.
One of the things I find, like even with like, you know, sets that Lego release themselves, where they'll use like a piece which is not the main, you know, like it wasn't designed for a specific thing, but they'll have like, you know, those like roller skates pieces, but they'll do all sorts of things, like they made like a mini sort of train set and stuff, and it's like I love that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, there's the whole concept of new parts usage. I've got a couple of really phenomenal friends who are Lego fans that are always pushing the boundaries, and then you've got people like Dave from Brick Nerd and Chris Malloy from Seattle, who's always pushing the limits of new parts usage. And I love it. I love looking at how other people can see the exact same part that I have in my bin and go, oh, I didn't think about that. That's amazing. And then you can pull off of that. I think it's incredible. I love scouring the internet for reference photos of what other people are doing. Absolutely.
That's something that I always sort of have in mind as well. But I look at like things I want to build is like, I'll look at, I like sort of combining sort of, basically I'll look at like, I always have like a couple of tabs open. I'll have like images of like, you know, real world examples or something. And I also look at like things that, you know, part usage and ways people have like done something like really like inventive things that you just never have imagined to do yourself. Actually, yeah, do you have a favorite kind of like sort of instance where you've used a part that there's like, you know, for completely like, you know, a new way of using that sort of part?
Yeah, I had a chance. It was one of the early days of Brick Can, which is the convention that's in Vancouver. I met a builder from Saskatchewan Lego user group by the name of Ray Morton, and Ray is amazing at motorizing things, and he showed me a couple of tricks with motorizing. And I went home and I had been working on a project where I was trying to figure out a waterfall, and I started using these tank treads, which I had for cars and vehicles, and managed to figure out how to attach Technic beams to them, and then plates to that, and then translucent pieces to that. And then before I know it, I had this huge loop of what looked like water when it started to move. So that was a real eye opener for making a part that used to be part of a vehicle. Now it's part of nature. It was a great opportunity for me to kind of spread my wings with an idea, that one. So
that's really like really interesting. Yeah, because I think there's like, yeah, just finding, I think there's something really satisfying about like finding something where it's like, you know, you never thought of using it, and it's like an everyday kind of piece that you know, like you never really think about it. Suddenly, you know, you've got like this whole new thing for it, you know. So something else I wanted to ask actually is like what, because obviously you've been like, I guess like pretty much grown up with Lego. Is there a specific like, you know, theme sort of throughout the years that's like one of your favorites, like classic themes or whatever?
So classic stuff that definitely was my wheelhouse was the classic castle and the classic space stuff. A lot of my concepts for bigger mocks have come off of things that I learned from that, like the trees they used to build for classic forest in the castle theme. Also having that combination of blue and gray and translucent yellow. Well, I love translucent yellow, but that was my classic space side that came through, because though they were such a unique piece, you didn't get them in any other theme. So as far as finding that way to bring in the old stuff that inspired me back in the day and still make it what I'm doing now. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question, because you were breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, that was actually perfect. Yeah,
cool.
It is. I'm actually like very, very fortunate enough to. Well, I'm only like 22, but my brothers grew up in the 80s and 90s, and so they grew up with Lego as well. So I've got like loads of Lego that I inherited from them, which is like you've got like Knights and Blacktron and all these like really cool, you know, like pieces and stuff. And like, yeah, like it's yeah, like all these like translucent pieces. I'm always trying to find ways that I can kind of integrate them into builds I use.
Oh, totally. And if you like incorporating some of the old into the new, I love when I find the old gray colors, because they're not produced now. They're considered a bit of a rarity and things that you don't find in new sets. So if you're doing a broken old wall, if you throw in some of the old gray colors, it's an obvious standout. And I think the older fans of the product start to pick up on that and like, oh, that's a good use of that piece. I love
yeah,
that.
I actually have quite a lot of the classic gray as well. And it's also another thing I find really funny as well is like with you know, like Lego that kind of wears off. I've got loads of white bricks that are like, they used to be white, now they're basically like yellow.
Cream. Yeah, they get that cream color. I've actually designated an entire bin of white pieces that have gone cream color, just in case you need that little color contrast. You're very lucky to have inherited your brother's Lego, my friend. That's a coveted item.
Yeah, very, very much so. Yeah, I'm just like so grateful for that. I also got a couple of like also I want to cut quickly because of time, but I also got some of my dad's stuff, which is like 50 years old.
Ooh, nice.
I've got some like things like, yeah, there's like classic window pieces and stuff that was even old when he had it, like also those like minifigures, like the leg minifigures, you know, where they have
no moving legs, just the body piece. Yeah, those are great. I love that stuff. That's my childhood right there.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the interviews. As always, I am William of LOTW Studios. You can find me on my YouTube channel, and where we do the World of Brick Films podcast. And also as well, we are very, very close now to reaching the goal of 1,000 subscribers. So if you are not yet subscribed to me and you'd like to contribute to that goal, don't hesitate to subscribe. But yeah, with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.